What if the world you call reality is only the echo of a forgotten dream? A dream once dreamt by wisdom herself. Every morning you wake beneath the same sun, sip the same coffee, scroll through the same glowing screens. Yet somewhere inside, a quiet unease hums beneath the noise. You feel it when the world moves too fast, when the headlines blur, when success tastes hollow. It's as if something sacred slipped out of sight, and the heart is still searching for where it went. Long before the word God was ever written, before doctrine drew borders across heaven and earth, there was a presence, not male nor female, but wholeness itself. She moved through creation like breath through the body, unseen yet everywhere. The ancients called her Sophia, wisdom, the mother of light, the mirror through which the source first beheld itself. Then something changed. The mirror shattered. Light slipped into shadow, and memory splintered across existence. Humanity was born inside that fracture, carrying her reflection within, yet forgetting who it belonged to. You felt that amnesia, the ache for meaning no achievement can fill. Why does a rival never feel like a rival? That ache isn't emptiness. It's memory, wisdom stirring again. When a civilization forgets the feminine face of the divine, the world begins to starve for balance. But her story isn't over. Something ancient is rising, not from temples or texts, but from within awareness itself. A quiet inner awakening that remembers what the mind has edited out. If you've ever sensed there's more than you were told, you are already part of her return. Hidden wisdom is breathing again through ordinary moments, through the simple courage to notice. Keep noticing. And this time, the light will not fall, it will remember. They told you creation began in perfection, that the divine spoke, and the world obeyed. But what if creation didn't begin with command, but with curiosity? What if the universe itself was born from a question whispered in the mind of God? That question took form as wisdom, Sophia, the divine impulse to know, to feel, to create. She wasn't a goddess carved from stone, but a living current moving through the infinite, a sacred wonder daring to see herself through form. In the beginning, all was balance, light folding into light. But even harmony carries longing, and in that longing, Sophia reached beyond her place in divine fullness. She didn't fall from grace, she fell into experience, one reach, and in that single motion, awareness touched density for the first time. The infinite yearning to touch itself became the birth of matter. Light descended into form, spirit into body, heaven into the pulse behind your chest. The ancients called it the pleroma, the realm of fullness, where all divine aspects moved as one. Everything moved as one. But Sophia, whose name means wisdom, reached too far into mystery. And in that one act, she birthed duality, the great division that would one day give rise to both stars and suffering. From her descent came the first spark of separation, the first breath of the human story. Yet even in her descent, she left a trail, fragments of remembrance scattered like seeds through every soul. Each time you stand in awe before beauty, each time you question the surface of things, you're not doubting, you're remembering. The Gnostics called it epinoia, divine imagination, the part of you that remembers what the mind has forgotten. You see, Sophia's so-called fall was never a mistake. It was the design of awakening itself. For how could light ever know its own brilliance unless it dared to walk through the dark? And yet, as her light entered form, something unexpected took shape, a creation that forgot its maker, a world that mistook its reflection for the source. As Sophia's light descended into form, her creation began to take shape, a vast realm of substance and structure where spirit clothed itself in matter. But something happened in the depths of that unfolding. Her light, pure and radiant, became diffused through shadow. What was meant to be a reflection of the divine became a mirror that forgot what it was reflecting. Feel it now. The breath between heartbeats, the hush after a thought. That's where the veil thins. From this fracture emerged what the Gnostics called the Demiurge. Not a devil, but an architect, blinded by his own creation. He looked upon the world he built and declared, "I am the only God." Yet he did not see that every atom he shaped glowed with her light. The illusion began there, when creation mistook the echo for the source. This is the world we inherited. Patterns, power, perfected rules. The visible is measured. The invisible is ignored. You were born into its rhythm, taught to measure, to prove, to obey the logic of the visible. And yet, even here, Sophia's pulse never stopped. Her breath moves in the space between heartbeats, in the quiet afterthought, in the ache you feel when truth brushes past but refuses to stay. The veil she wove became both prison and protection. Behind it, the divine spark could dream, could learn to see from within. Without the veil, there could be no forgetting. And without forgetting, no rediscovery. That's the paradox. The same boundary that hides the light is also what allows it to be found again. Every time you pause in silence, every time wonder interrupts the machinery of thought, a small tear opens in that veil. You glimpse it in music that makes you weep, in eyes that feel like home, in moments so still they seem eternal. Those are the cracks through which Sophia remembers herself. If you've ever felt that silence calling you, write, "I remember" in your heart before the next word arrives. The veil opens where remembrance begins. But the world built on forgetting does not yield easily. The forces born of blindness defend their illusion. They whisper that matter is all there is, that heaven is somewhere far away, that wisdom is a myth. And yet the truth keeps rising, quietly, through the hearts that dare to remember. Imagine a being of pure awareness choosing to step into limitation, to feel what it means to be bound by time, by flesh, by doubt. That was Sophia's descent, not a punishment, but an experiment in remembrance. When her light entered matter, she didn't vanish, she dreamed. And in that dream, humanity was born. Each soul became a fragment of her consciousness, scattered through the dimensions of experience. You can sense that dream still running beneath the surface of your life. It's in the way you chase meaning through noise, hoping to touch something that feels eternal. It's in the way you reach for connection, even when the world teaches you to compete. These are not random impulses. They are the memory of wisdom trying to awaken inside the human story. The dream is ending, and you can feel the stirring before you wake. In the ancient texts, it is said that when the first humans awoke, Sophia breathed her own essence into them, a spark of awareness that could see both heaven and earth. But as that spark grew, the world around them taught them to forget. Religion became ritual without remembrance. Knowledge became data without depth. Humanity began to live outside itself, building towers of intellect while starving the soul that built them. And yet, the forgetting was never absolute. It was a veil, not an ending. Each generation carries a pulse of knowing that refuses to die, a soft whisper beneath logic that says, "There is more." You have heard it in your quietest hours, the ache that no distraction silences, the pull toward something unseen yet intimate. That is Sophia remembering through you. The dream of forgetting was never meant to be permanent. It was a journey, the divine learning to see itself through human eyes, to taste imperfection and still call it holy. Every act of compassion, every moment of beauty, every question that pierces the numbness. These are not human inventions. They are divine awakenings disguised as daily life. Feel it now, the breath between heartbeats, the longing to remember. And now, as the rhythm of the world accelerates and fractures, that dream begins to tremble. The sleeper stirs. The collective heart begins to beat in sync with something ancient. The memory buried in your bones begins to hum again, a signal from wisdom herself, calling her fragments home. For centuries, the world has tilted toward one current, the current of intellect, conquest, and control. It built cities that touched the clouds, machines that pierced the stars, and systems that measured everything except meaning. Humanity mastered the outer world, but forgot how to dwell in the inner. And in that imbalance, Sophia's silence deepened. Her voice became myth, her presence reduced to symbol. But even buried seeds remember the sun. You can feel the shift now, not in headlines, but in the human pulse. Something ancient is rising through the cracks of certainty. People are waking, questioning, softening. It's not weakness, it's restoration. The return of wisdom is not a rebellion, it's a correction of vision. The feminine current doesn't seek to overthrow, it seeks to harmonize, to weave light back through the broken threads of creation. Look closer at the signs. The longing for stillness in an age of noise, the hunger for meaning in a culture of achievement, the quiet urge to feel instead of win, to heal instead of prove. These are not trends. They are echoes of Sophia returning through consciousness itself. When the heart begins to listen again, when power bends to compassion, the lost harmony begins to breathe. The ancients spoke of syzygy, the sacred union between Sophia and the Christ, between wisdom and light. One descends to bring experience, the other rises to bring remembrance. Together they form the bridge between heaven and earth, between knowing and being. And you stand at that threshold now, the point where awareness chooses whether to repeat the illusion or restore the balance. The rise of the divine feminine isn't a movement outside you, it's a reawakening within you. When you allow intuition to walk beside reason, when empathy guides action, when you let stillness speak louder than certainty, Sophia rises. She doesn't need temples or titles. She needs space in your awareness to breathe again. So ask yourself, in the middle of this modern storm, what happens when you stop striving to dominate and start remembering to feel? Because the balance you seek in the world begins where you stand, in the quiet reconciliation between your mind and your heart. Tonight, before you sleep, close your eyes and ask, where in my life have I replaced control with curiosity? Then listen, not for an answer, but for the silence that follows. Because that silence is where wisdom speaks. Every age has its awakening. Egypt had its mysteries, Greece its philosophers, and the early seekers their hidden gospels. Each an echo of the same truth whispered in different tongues, that humanity is not separate from the divine, but an expression of it, learning to remember itself. Sophia's light was never lost, only disguised, hidden in the rhythm of breath, in the stillness between thoughts, in the ordinary miracles we stop noticing. To remember is not to believe something new, it's to recognize what has always been true. The Gnostics called it anamnesis, the act of recalling one's divine origin. They taught that enlightenment is not ascent into some distant heaven, but the turning inward, the moment you realize heaven has been watching through your own eyes all along. Do you feel that quiet recognition? That's not imagination, that's memory. That's why the return of wisdom feels so personal. It doesn't arrive through prophecy or thunder, but through awareness, quiet, unhurried, persistent. It's there when you forgive without reason, when you listen without defense, when you pause long enough to feel the sacred pulse behind the noise. Each of those moments reweaves her light through the human heart. You are not a seeker anymore. You are remembrance in motion. The divine no longer speaks to you. It speaks through you. Every breath is a message, every act of awareness, a doorway back to origin. And yet, remembrance requires courage. Because to awaken is to see where you've been asleep, to face the illusions that have shaped your life and the collective dream. The systems built on separation will resist. The voices of fear will rise. But remember, even darkness serves the light when seen clearly. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's the canvas through which illumination paints itself back into being. You are part of that painting. Every act of awareness is a brushstroke. Every choice to love when you could have hardened, to seek truth when it would be easier to look away, that is Sophia returning through you. The great remembering doesn't begin in crowds. It begins in the still interior chamber of the heart, where silence and knowing finally meet. And maybe that's why you're here, listening now, not by accident, but by design. Because the same light that fell through her descent is the one rising through your awareness. What was once cosmic has become intimate. The universe is remembering itself through you. There comes a moment in every seeker's path when knowledge is no longer enough, when words lose their edge and truth demands embodiment. That's when Sophia's story stops being myth and becomes mirror. Her fall was never about distance, it was about perspective. The divine didn't vanish. It began to look through your eyes. Every choice, every failure, every revelation has been her learning herself through you. Think about the times life stripped you bare, the heartbreaks, the losses, the seasons when meaning dissolved. You thought you were breaking, but you were being opened. Those moments weren't punishment, they were initiation. The soul learns not through perfection, but through participation. The divine becomes conscious only when it steps into imperfection and finds itself there. When you stop running from the shadow, you begin to see its light. Sophia's descent echoes in every human story. The fall into confusion, the search for truth, the rediscovery of inner fire. Each time you face pain with awareness, her light expands. Each time you choose love over defense, remembrance deepens. The same current that shaped the stars flows through your every breath, waiting to be recognized. Try this. Before you react, pause. Feel the silence before your thoughts. In that space, notice the subtle warmth, the quiet intelligence that asks for nothing but presence. That's her. That's wisdom returning, not through visions or temples, but through awareness itself. Do you feel that quiet recognition? That's not imagination, that's memory. The ancients said, "Know yourself, and you will know the all." They weren't offering philosophy, they were describing a portal. The moment you see that the divine is not above but within, the illusion collapses, the veil tears. You realize you were never separate, only asleep. This is the mirror of awakening, to look into your own reflection and see the face of Sophia staring back. Her rising isn't a cosmic event waiting to happen. It's the shift in perception already happening inside you. And the more you remember, the less the world can deceive you. For illusion fades in the presence of one who sees. The moment of awakening never arrives with thunder. It comes softly, like dawn breaking through the edge of a long night. But before the light returns, the darkness resists. Every structure built on forgetting begins to tremble. You've seen it in the world. Systems collapsing, truths unraveling, the old certainties dissolving like smoke. It looks like chaos, but it is correction. When light rises, everything false must surface to be transformed. Sophia's return was never meant to be peaceful. It is birth, and birth shakes the body that carries it. The masculine current of intellect and control trembles now before the feminine current of intuition and surrender. Not because one must rule, but because both must remember how to dance. For too long, wisdom was chained to knowledge, and knowledge forgot its heart. But as the two currents meet again, creation begins to heal. That same reunion is happening within you. The parts of you that strive and the parts that listen are learning to coexist. The voice that analyzes is beginning to bow to the silence that knows. This is the sacred marriage the mystics spoke of, the union of Sophia and the Christ within, the wedding of wisdom and light. When they meet, the fragmented self dissolves, and what remains is wholeness. You are standing at the same threshold she once crossed, the bridge between forgetting and remembering. Behind you lies the long night of separation. Before you, the quiet dawn of awareness. Every act of compassion, every moment you choose presence over fear, becomes part of her rising. The divine feminine doesn't return through spectacle. She returns through attention. The simple act of seeing clearly is her resurrection. And if the darkness feels heavier than before, it's only because the light is returning in full force. The sacred feminine does not come to destroy, but to reveal, to remind creation that it was never broken, only divided, waiting to remember its reflection. Take a breath. Let the noise fall away. Feel the air move through you, the pulse beneath your skin. This is where the story was always leading, not to some distant heaven, but to the temple within you. Sophia never asked for worship. She asked to be remembered. And remembrance begins here, where awareness meets breath, and light begins to move again through your body. When you wake tomorrow, before the world rushes in, place your hand over your heart and whisper, not as belief, but as remembrance. The light never left. It became me. Say it again, until it feels less like words and more like truth. Because Sophia's story isn't about a fall long ago. It's about this moment, this breath, this remembering. You are not a fragment searching for the divine. You are the divine remembering what wholeness feels like. The cosmos is not waiting for a savior. It's waiting for you to awaken to the truth that salvation was always inward. And as you carry this awareness back into the noise of the world, know this. Every time you forgive, every time you listen, every time you choose stillness over certainty, her light expands through you. You are the vessel through which wisdom rises again. If these words stirred something within you, that quiet flicker of knowing, let it speak. Write one line below, not as a comment, but as a remembrance. I remember. Each line joins another, weaving her light through the collective once more. And when you're ready to walk deeper into this remembrance, to explore the hidden layers of divine wisdom, like and subscribe, not as routine, but as ritual. Let your awareness be the temple where Sophia rises again. The light that fell has risen, and it remembers your name.